Well, good morning. Wanted to talk today, possibly start a series of talks on the way in which we each have access directly to God by any name. Eckhart Tolle uses the word the unmanifested, which I've always enjoyed because it talks actively about our function as conduit through which the unmanifested might manifest in the world. And Jesus, who clearly had access, served very beautifully as a portal through which this unmanifested came into the world. He is quoted as saying, "I am the way, the truth, and the light, and only through me could one come to the Father, come to know God." And of course, that's a misrepresentation of what he was saying. Of course, the Bible was written many, many, many years after Jesus walked in the world and offered his example. But in more modern times, via A Course in Miracles, he speaks directly to this relationship and offers that this relationship is available to everyone. And this makes perfect sense. Always in my studies, whenever I came across any teacher, so-called prophet, or whatever, who would claim to have exclusive access to spiritual knowledge, I knew that that individual was misguided or dishonest. Always, I knew in my heart of hearts and my intuition that the access that I had was available to anyone. There was nothing special about me. There's nothing special about Jesus. There's nothing special about anyone, regardless of the stature that the world might establish for them. Again, just remembering how unconscious the masses were in ancient times, it's easy to see how a particular portal through which this light, truth, beauty, light manifested, they would make of that individual something very special. And the key in our time, and certainly the key for my own personal destiny, is to show, demonstrate that what was extraordinary in our new consciousness is ordinary. So, in fact, anyone who would enter this era, this new earth consciousness, will do so because they choose to access this truth, beauty, power, light, and it is available to them. So that will distinguish those members of this new era of our evolution as a species, Homo glumulus. Homo glumulus will be multitudes of individuals who access this light, who access this voice, who come to know God. Okay, I know God through experience, and that's how we come to know, not believe in like some fairy tale. Know directly, know. And what Jesus demonstrated, and hopefully what you see me demonstrate, and many, many others. I was just listening to David Hoffmeister. He's a very, very clear, bright light through his teaching of A Course in Miracles. That this is has become more and more and more ordinary. again, via the technology that we've developed as a species, Homo sapiens, virtually anybody in the world today can access this radiant, energetic truth via a variety of speakers, via, written communications, pretty much all information now is available worldwide. And I've always believed that there will be, in the very near future, an even greater sort of download, accessible to greater and greater numbers, because the key is that certain teachers, masters, will have the ability to translate this into something very easy to digest, very easy to access and digest. Like I talked before about telling my daughter, explaining to her how a green leaf of a tree receives the energy of the sun, translates or transmutes that energy from the sun into life, oxygen, water, food. In this same simple way, we are called to be translators, transmuters of the spiritual energy that comes from God, the unmanifested, very similar to the sun. It's just the source of energy, this continual outpouring of energy, truth, beauty, light. So as we answer the call, again, the unmanifested seeks us. Okay, remember in my story, those who followed some of the talks where I was telling my story, I was 21 years old, a student in university when the voice first sought me, asked me to consider a radical proposal that I would leave the comforts, the world that I knew, and follow the guidance. And I did. So today, decades later, it's easy for me to understand, to receive, to translate this voice so that others could more easily, without upsetting their lives. That wasn't the only reason I had to make radical turns. It's just because, again, of the interference patterns that were running in me that were very strong from my childhood, from my karmic burden. So it takes time to undo those for me, and maybe for others in my generation who grew up in a very conditioned way. The conditioning telling us that we were to deny and project our divinity onto some extant God, whether you're one version or another of Christian, or, almost all the religions would have you deny and project your divinity elsewhere, to some teacher, to some version of God, to some Messiah. Incorrect information, limited information. It wouldn't work in a society that requires people to be dumbed down for them to become awake and free and realizing they could live a life that's totally different than what was being offered to them. So this is the crossroads we are at as a species, as a world, that the choice is becoming clearer and clearer, being offered. Remember, I talked about that Luciferic principle. There's a dystopian nightmare being offered as, this is the reality available to you. But then there's others like me who are saying, no, there's another utopian dream, heaven on earth, being offered. And you can choose that. And by choosing heaven on earth, you're choosing to open yourself to this voice for God that's coming through me. You can accept my translation or some other translation, but the key is that any real teacher would point you toward your own divine abilities, that you have the ability yourself to receive this divinity. and integrate that divinity into your energy body. When we talked about biodanza, your divinity, creativity, affectivity, sexuality, vitality, that the key is for us to receive this divinity and integrate it with our human body and person, and demonstrate in a very simple, easy way how we can fully know God and fully participate on earth as humans. This is our this is our new evolution as Homo spiritus or Homo glimianus. We become this thing that, again, Jesus was just pointing to as a possibility a few thousand years ago. There have been many masters that have walked the earth pointing to this possibility that would come, again, in the dream of space-time, would come in the future, but it has always been available, always. And there have been bright lights that have known that, some famous, some obscure. This whole story of evolution is just how things appear in a relatively linear space-time world, but reality is not linear. I've talked to that before. Reality is whole, always has been, always will be. It's whole. So we have the ability, again, to cross this threshold and be directly connected to eternity, still living in the world, the conditional space-time world. And we are that bridge, we are that conduit, we are that portal. The bridge between heaven and earth. We stand on that bridge, 1 foot in eternity, 1 foot in the world. We serve the same function that Jesus served many, many years ago. So the misunderstanding of his teaching was simply because people did not have ears to hear. They had to have this magical idea, ooh, there's this individual that was so much different than we are. And then we make of him God. Well, that's very immature. That's simply, again, that tribal belief, the Catholic Church or whatever, preys on the tribal mind that wants to have a big daddy in the sky, or the egoic mind, which is so rational and needs to deny and project divinity elsewhere. But the key is to bring it home. It's a simple thing to open ourselves through this OASIS experience, oneness arising from stillness, inspiring simplicity, that we have access to this really deep spiritual principle that will come to us via our ability to become still, which means not offering any resistance. That's what's still. Remember the pendulum? There's a stillness at the end of each arc. This is replicated by our breath. Stops. At these still points, we have direct access. We need to just visualize that. Allow ourselves to practice becoming still and listening. Always this voice for God, for the most part, is a whisper saying, pay attention. But right now it's speaking through me saying, here I am, here it is, receive the gift, all of this truth, beauty, light, all of these spiritual aspects are available to you to know in your daily existence and to share, to demonstrate to your world how real it is. Reality is real. what the conditioned world thinks, what they believe is not real. Reality is so much more powerful than this dream. So those of us who know this, we talked about the Hawkins scale, those of us who know this and can demonstrate with acceptance minimum, appreciation, and enthusiasm, we are operating at such a high level, vibrational, energetic level, that this will be noticed. It will be seen, it will be heard. And again, years ago, they had to burn the witches at the stake. They had to crucify Jesus and many other truth tellers because what they were saying seemed too radical. But today, more and more people can go, that's a really clear choice. I would choose peace. I would choose freedom over what's being offered. You have that choice. Remember, power versus force. The world may try to force you into this into this little prison. You can choose the power, okay, what Jesus said, the truth, the way, the light. This is the power that has always existed. And any enlightened, awakened teacher, master, whatever, they know this, they can access this. And those that have misunderstood it and made of it something special, like, ooh, I have access, you don't. They were misguided or dishonest. It's not true. There's no Arten and Persa. Okay, there's no entities that exist solely for the channel that are channeling them. They're all channeling the same divine, radiant truth, and then putting their own little spin on it, making it something unique, something special only to them. They're misguided or dishonest. And there's been many frauds that have been shown, but it doesn't really matter, because the point is they're doing their best to bring this radiant truth. The main thing is to see in any of the teachings, where is the truth? Where is the beauty? Where is the light? And any other stuff that's thrown on it. I mean, there's so much spiritual guidance that comes in the form of religion that has all these attachments to good or evil, right or wrong. This is how you should live your life. You do this, don't do this. When you receive this light, this beauty, this power, when you receive this, you will naturally do your best. You will naturally be generous. You will naturally be at peace and happy. And you will give. You will offer that. You will share that with your world. There's no more fear. There's no more anxiety. No more judgments. No more hatred. That doesn't make sense any longer. That's when you're vibrating at a place of consistently in a highly powerful, positive way. These lower fear-based, judgment-based emotional states don't exist. There's no, like, you can't be highly creative and happy and be depressed at the same time. You can't be confident and comfortable in your knowledge of eternity and be anxious about the future. Past and future no longer have any power. They never actually did. You just gave them power that wasn't real. As you become more centered in this now, the only time there is now, today, that these other things fall away. And your day, your existence becomes joyful and easy. You manifest easily. through your creativity, through your enthusiasm, you'll see around you conditions change because you've changed. Remember, everything that you see, the world you see, is a creation of your own mind. So, again, focusing on this truth and understanding that all of the misinterpretation that's come around those teachers that have seen the truth, demonstrated the truth, but then been misunderstood, that itself is understandable. But in this time, we don't need or want to do this any longer. We want to show those people that maybe have a deep devotion to one teacher or another that it's you. If you have a devotion, if you feel called by that teacher, it's because it's in you. You know, your internal master has sought and has been following an external master. The external master should be pointing you toward the internal master that's in you. So, enough for today. I love you so much. Be happy.